Hey everybody, you read the title, so let's get going. A little clickbaity on the thumbnail. This is a wiper motor or a wiper assembly. So this will get you basically to the same place, and if you need to replace one or the other, it's gonna definitely help you out. So to begin with, you're gonna take off your wiper arm nuts, the retaining nuts, and I left this play in real time because this is actually probably one of the hardest steps of this whole process is getting these wiper arms off if they didn't break off for another reason. We spray a little bit of WD in there to hopefully get a little oil down in the threads and in the cogs that hold it in place, and then if you wiggle it enough and kind of hold it at a certain angle, they'll pop off. And we're just gonna get a quick close-up shot of see what's going on. You guys might have the same issue if you guys are looking for this video. So the cogs and the gears, or whatever you want to say, the teeth on that grip the wiper arm are basically completely gone on it. So that's the reason we're doing this wiper assembly today. We're going to take off all the plastic cowl stuff here. It isn't absolutely necessary to do the 4 screws here, but we were filming another video at the same time, so this is a necessary step if you don't want to take off the whole plastic piece. Either way, you guys can pull it off either way you guys would like, but as long as it comes off, that's what's important. That's what matters. Remove that plastic molding trim and that rubber seal, and then you have full access and full sight line of the wiper assembly and the wiper motor. Yeah, your engine PCU or ECM there, and then the wiper assembly stuff. So 3 bolts hold it in place. A couple 10mm guys. Just quickly take those out, and then you'll be able to get this whole thing out basically in one shot. When it breaks free and it comes loose, you'll see it rock back and forth, and you know you got it freed up. Do not take this plug off. This is actually a horn plug. It is zip tied to the assembly. You can see the zip tie right there in that shot, along with the back of the plug. But like us, if you try to take it off, you might find yourself flinging the clip clean out of it and almost dropping it down in between the fender well. So it's not a good thing to do. Leave that guy in there and cut the zip tie there if you can. We will be revisiting that zip tie here in just a second after we pull the back plug on the wiper motor. This is kind of a weird plug. You kind of have to squeeze on the back tab. I use a screwdriver to help me get a little more leverage on it, and as soon as you pop that off, you're good to go. Here's that zip tie that was holding in that plug. We never needed to unplug, but we didn't know that at the time, so we just cut the zip tie now, and it's freed up. There we go. That's where the wiper assembly and motor live. Throw it up on the bench and get it ready to swap out. There's a part number for you guys if you need it. And as we go into disassembly of the wiper assembly and wiper motor stuff, it's only 3 bolts holding it on, and 1 center 13mm nut that holds the actuator from the motor to the assembly linkage. So some of these can be kind of tricky to get to. You can wiggle the motor out of the way. They can get bound up, and it might kind of get in an uncomfortable position until you loosen up some of these. So however you guys can get to them, and as long as you remember that you have them somewhere and they all need to go back on, you're going to be all right. Do not forget, some of this stuff has been sitting for a while on these cars, so if you got to pry it up with a little screwdriver or give it a little bit of love with a hammer or rubber mallet, that's no problem at all.
There we go.
Oh, you got it. There you go, it's freed up. And what you can do with your old stuff is just chuck that out of sight, out of mind, and carry on. Now that it's all apart, this is where you would replace your wiper motor if you have a wiper motor gone out. And keep that linkage. Don't chuck it in the trash if you don't need to. This is a good time to look over stuff. Definitely wipe it down. Make sure the connector's good and there's no green corrosion or nothing that looks funny or suspicious. And after that, go ahead and start bolting it back together. Like I said, 3 10mm bolts that hold the assembly to the motor. Just give those guys a quick snug, and then you will have to adjust the linkage back around for that 13mm nut. You don't need to tighten this nut all the way down. You can see my buddy here, Chewy, he's actually holding it while turning it, because if not, the linkage arm will want to move. You see it wiggled there a little bit and he backed it off. But you don't have to absolutely crush it down as long as it's snug. Put your clip back in that you almost lost. Put the plug back in. We'll zip tie it later. Now that it's all bolted back up together and the clip is installed back onto the horn, it is time to drop it back in. So remember basically how you took it out if it had to come out at a goofy or strange angle, because it's basically going to have to go back in about the same way. Once it drops right in, I would wait on putting any bolts in it, because you can see Chewy there, he's got to grab that clip and connect it back into the motor. Then we can throw a bolt in it real quick, and that'll basically hold it in place while we line up the other ones. The center one can be a little bit of a pain. We found that rubber grommets that held it in place needed to be smushed over, not smushed, but pushed gently over to line up for the bowl holes, which was no problem. And give those guys a quick snug. Throw that last bolt in there. And I would leave all of these basically loose up until they're all in and close to getting tight. Pretty much how you tighten any set of bolts. Go back and double check your other bolts. Make sure you tighten them all up. And when that's done, we're going to go ahead and switch the car on and basically actuate the wiper motor. And we see right there, I purposely replayed it a couple times, where it starts and it stops right there. And then we started it back up. That is the park switch inside the wiper motor. So we need to make sure that it's clocked or timed correctly so the wipers don't stop, say, in the middle of your windshield wiper or at a weird, bothersome position. So basically, this is why we left the 13mm nut from the assembly to the motor slightly loose.
Yeah.
This is now our opportunity to straighten it out and make sure everything lines back up correctly. Turn the motor back on, make sure it's parked right where we want, right where the car decides to. Basically, it'll know where to stop, and then we have to line up all the assembly, which is basically easy to just drop it on there. And the nut is the hardest part to get on. And when that's all back together, you move the linkage where you need it. In this car, it's going to be at this angle. Just note that it's basically 90, or it's 180 degrees. It's almost parallel to that bottom brace bar that the motor bolts to. So once that is all lined up, go ahead and snug it down. This might rotate on you a little bit, so you will probably need two hands to hold it in place. Definitely snug it down. You don't want this thing to start turning on you. Like I said, it will park your wiper blades in weird spots all over your windshield. Once that's done, make sure you check it one more time and it's stopping where it needs to. And like I said, this one is right there, basically in line. And now it's time for reassembly. We decided to throw the cowl on as one big piece, that little cabin air filter part, 4 screws on, and it's ready to go. This weather seal, make sure you press this down nice and firm. It's going to feel like it doesn't sit until you do. And with that, time to put on our wiper arms. This is the passenger side. This is definitely the one that needed to be replaced, since it was completely ovaled out and it couldn't get a grip on the assembly. So definitely need this. Do note, guys, that these can be different from passenger side to driver side. Passenger side might have more angles, or the driver's side might be in a different position. But some of these are interchangeable. Just note that they might interfere with each other, or they probably won't line up correctly if you do mix them up. So take your time with these also and make sure they go on correctly. Also, when you push these on, make sure you do push nice and firm. Since they're new parts, they're going to want to grab and almost basically stick to kind of be held in place. So push these down nice and firm, and then don't stop if it looks like it's kind of got some more room to go. You will have to wiggle these on and down basically the way you had to wiggle them to come off. So take it nice and slow and make sure they go down in. And then once all that's done, go ahead and test them out and see how it comes out. You should be able to see clear as day out of your windshield now. Thanks, Chewy, for letting me work on your car, and thank you everybody for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.